Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion, plays Binding by AFTERBIRTH Plus. Before we get started, I got a bone to pick. Well, I'm gonna, give you some eye candy here. It's a picture of me, and no, I'm just kidding. It's a picture of me with a mustache, aka young Teddy Roosevelt. I got a bone to pick with the StubHub Corporation. It's a common lightning rod for criticism from me, but I keep getting these emails. I use StubHub to buy Canucks tickets because when you buy them from, and don't tell the Rogers Media Association, when you buy them from the box office, they're way too expensive for the quality of the team, which I love, but I don't want to pay $80 to see us lose 5-0 to the Arizona Coyotes, when instead I could pay like $15 to see us lose 5-0 to the Arizona Coyotes. So here's the thing. Buy tickets on StubHub occasionally. They just send me an email. They send me an email like once a week. Take a night off from Nights In. Hi Ryan, it's been 222 days since your last night out. No it hasn't, StubHub. No it hasn't. How very presumptuous of you to assume the only time I ever have a night out is when it's using your web service, where you pay like a 30% premium directly to you just for owning the freaking domain name. It's like a restaurant sending you an email and being like, it's been 222 days since your last meal. Not true. I was out yesterday because my wife was playing in a musical performance at a community center in Surrey, BC. So you think you know me, StubHub. First off, the email only gets more disrespectful after that. You know, people always talk about the algorithm. Oh, the algorithm. The machine learning. It's destroying the internet. Yeah, pretty much, and like all of our privacy is eroded forever. But, like, sometimes the algorithm does things that are almost good. Like, I can tell StubHub's algorithm is very, very bad. Because it says, there's tickets available. 222 days since your last night out. We got spare tickets to see Bryan Adams, and I'm like, I believe it. He kind of sucks. But if your algorithm had been Cambridge Analytica spying on me without my permission, you would know that I do not like Bryan Adams. I don't think he is a bad person. Dude, this is the ideal Pokemon. Look at that. Unfortunately, there's no means whatsoever for us to get that Eternal Heart or any of the many tinted rocks. I'm just trying to think, like, if we grab the scissors, we can't fly. Our head flies. We can't use anything to get into the reroll machine to reroll the scissors, so it's just it's a weird situation. I didn't want to. I could have in hindsight, but I didn't want to play the spike room, you know, the sacrifice room, because I was worried that we might have only had 1 HP. So that's one of those situations where Curse of the Unknown held us back a little bit, probably. Because if we had found a seam, we could have rolled with that one easily, but... So, I don't know, maybe I should be very thankful to, Okay. Maybe I should be very thankful to the StubHub Corporation for respecting my data privacy. But please stop suggesting I'm a loser just because I don't want to go see the Eagles. Somebody got overly excited, bought Eagles tickets knowing they were going to sell out in 2 minutes. And now they're like, well, I can't go to that. I'm going to sell them for, you know, 1.5 times the market value. I don't want to see the Eagles live. I know they're going to play Hotel California. Dude, can you imagine? I would never do this, by the way. Because, you know, in my own way, I'm kind of already like the Eagles. You know, like a really, really well-respected media property that, you know, people love. And I'm more like Lou Bega, you know, I got like one greatest hit. It's Mambo number 5. I play it at the start and end of every concert. That's how I schedule my uploads as well. It's basically like Isaac, a bunch of other stuff I hope you get trapped and watch, and then Isaac at the end of the day. So if I were the Eagles, I would open every concert with the On a Long Desert Highway. And then when I finished off, you know, they'd be like, encore, encore. And I'd be like, all right, you know what's happening next. On a long desert highway. And the people would love it. But how funny would it be if I know the Eagles have a lot of other jams. You know, Take It Easy, Let the Good Times Roll, My Sharona, Free Bird, Hey Jude, etc., etc. But I know they got a lot of other jams. No! I don't know if I can use the razor blade. I'm pretty sure I can, but I don't want to risk it because things are looking okay right now. If they did the whole concert, because you know, have you ever been to a concert for like a band that you really, really like and you know they've got like one jam? I saw Modest Mouse in 2009, I think, and everybody there, now that this story is actually resurfacing in my memory, they did not play Float On, which I know was freaking people in the audience out. They're like, when are you going to play Float On? When are you going to... The answer was never. They never played Float On. Their 2004, like number 7 hit or whatever it is. Let me caffeinate here for a second. Now, when you're Modest Mouse, I think you can get away with it. And you can get away with it for a couple of reasons. One is, been around for like, 20 years at that point. Well, actually, now that I think about it, that was 10 years ago. So they've been around for like, 10 or 15 years at that point. But that's kind of like half of it. The thing is, they've got like a big back catalog that they can draw from, is what I'm trying to get at. But also, they're active touring artists. They're still making more music, and that music, you never know. They could be looking for their next Float On, or they could resent the fact that, the Float On made them famous and they just want to go back to, like, earlier stuff like This Is a Long Drive for someone with nothing to think about. Look, it's been a while, okay, since I read Pitchfork Media. DAE. That's a rare music, DAE. But if you're the Eagles, also that's the other thing, tickets to the Modest Mouse concert, because I lived in a small town that was like, a little bit of a, is a pit stop between like Montreal and Toronto, sometimes Ottawa as well. If you haven't heard of Ottawa, by the way, no offense, it is the capital of my country, but disregard. Now that the G7 is closing ranks, we gotta stand for one another, okay? Know who your allies are, that's all I'm trying to say. Learn their capital cities, that's gonna be important. Tickets were like 15 or 20 bucks. Now, it was 10 years ago, so, with the inflation, they were like 17 or $19, but let's not worry about that too much. But yeah, the Eagles, if you're paying like 80 bucks, 90 bucks, it could be more than that actually. It wouldn't surprise me. They're probably one of the biggest draws for a touring band. I would love Blank Card. I should be using Razor Blade, by the way. It's my own idiocy that, idiocy? It's my own idiocy that's preventing me from doing this. My own short-sightedness. But if you go see the Eagles, you pay, let's say you pay 100 bucks for a ticket. They don't play Hotel California, you're gonna leave and be like, this was not a good use of our money. They didn't even play those. That's like if Queen was still touring and they didn't play Bohemian Rhapsody. You're like, I bought like 30% of the ticket value to me when I purchased it was for Bohemian Rhapsody. It's not that I don't respect the other Queen back catalog, and I've given my thoughts on Bohemian Rhapsody. I think it's not that good. I don't want to say it's, a terrible song, but actually, like, whenever anybody that's actually famous comes to my hometown, it's news like 6 months in advance. It's so weird. Like, now I live in Vancouver. A couple of years ago, we were at Costco downtown in Vancouver. It's right next to 2 stadiums. It's right next to where they play soccer and American football, and it's right next to the hockey stadium as well. And at both of those, they do huge concerts. So we were like, man, what's up with this traffic? This is crazy. It's a Sunday. I don't understand why traffic. And then I got home, and I was like, oh, it turns out Taylor Swift is there. Just across the street is like, the largest recording artist of the present day. Maybe largest, I don't know. She's up there, obviously, because I know who she is. Oh, we got a little frame rate dip. Hey, we got a couple frame rate dips there. What are you doing to me here, game? After all that, we still got hit, but look at this. Now we can come back. That didn't happen in my hometown. Elton John played my hometown, and it was front page news for like 8 months. It was like, mark your calendars, Elton John is playing. Now, it's not that my hometown sucks for music. It's just kind of small. Like, a lot of stuff has happened there. If you're familiar with the Tragically Hip, they did their final concert there, which was like a huge moment in national news at the very least. It was You know, the singer had been diagnosed with terminal brain cancer, and they're like a Canadian institution. They're like emblematic of the Canadian musical identity. They're really well liked, sort of broke in America, but never really took off, kind of like Tim Hortons, but in this case, undeservedly didn't take off. Are we gonna go for blank card now? Why not? You know, we haven't been using the razor blade. We haven't proven ourselves worthy. It's just that it's small, you know? The venue has like 2,000 people. So Elton John played. I'm trying to think of other big names that have played there. The one that I saw there was like, I saw Bob Dylan play there. Tickets were 80 or 90 bucks 10 years ago. So it's pricey. But at the same time, it's like, he's a living legend, right? I had nothing but respect for my president, Bob Dylan. And everyone was talking before the concert. They're like, what do you hope he plays? And they're like, I hope he plays track 4 off of Blood on the Tracks. Oh, I hope he plays track 6 off of Blonde on Blonde. He didn't play any of that. The dude's got 52 albums or something ridiculous. He doesn't have time. He's 80 years old. I do also want to say, again, from a recording artist standpoint, one of my favorite artists of all time, the concert sucked. And I don't want to be too offensive to, you know, I mean, he's an old man. I don't mean this to be rude. He's really old. He didn't really bring the kind of energy that I mean, I wasn't expecting, like, you know, Newport Folk Festival necessarily, but then I wake up, make these fun no more. And you're like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing today. I get it. So this is I'm here so that I can say, you know, I saw Bob Dylan once, and then people will be like, wow. Was it in the 1960s? No. 1970s? No. 1980s? No. 1990s? No. 2000s? Barely. Now, this is what I'm about to say is borderline offensive and also a little bit selfish. This happens so often in these videos. I have a very small backlog. Please, God, Bob Dylan, stay healthy, okay? Until like June 12th when this video comes out, or I'm gonna look like a real piece of garbage. I just want you to know that if the unthinkable happens, it isn't like I just saw terrible news about Bob Dylan and was like, let's come into this video and crap on him. It's not really the kind of person that I am. For the most part. I don't even want to blow this guy up right here. Gotta go to the secret room. Okay, well, doubled our investment, I suppose. So yeah, you know, if you're, if I were a big musical act, 100%, you would hate me when you're like 25. But if you were 60 and you saw my concert, you'd be like, he put on a heck of a show, let me tell you. He played all the hits twice. I mean, it's gotta be hard, I guess, especially, you know, if you're a band that's been around for a long time, and you got a lot of, like, I mean, I'm trying to think, if you saw like a Rolling Stones concert, they have so many songs that you'd be expecting to hear, right? You'd be, oh, you know, I want to hear Paint It Black and, you know, second Rolling Stone. Can't always get what you want. Can't get no satisfaction, you know, Wild Horses, Ruby Tuesday, etc., etc. I want to hear all of those jams, right? Everything from Exile on Main Street, Tumblin' Dice, Jumpin' Jack Flash. Don't forget about these. You know, you go see the concert. You won't even notice till you get home. You'll be like, did you notice they didn't play Jumpin' Jack Flash? You'll be like, I was too busy. I think I'm okay with the stars. Did we check the... I think we're fine with this. I was too busy listening to the other 75 hits that they played, because they know how to put on a good show. But I always wonder, like, if you're a one-hit wonder, at least at the time that you tour... That's gotta be tough, because, you know, there's gotta be, like, a certain mental toughness that comes with that. Like, if you're Lou Bega touring, his last name is not touring, like, it's a hyphenated last name. I'm just saying, if he's on tour, he knows that everybody is there to see Mambo number 5. Well, there's probably, like, 2 people that are like, dude, I know Mambo number 5 is pretty sick, but you ever hear his second single, Tricky Tricky? That's what I'm here for. I'm a hipster Lou Bega fan. That's tough, dude, because I don't know, you ever, like, you have a conversation with somebody and you're really excited to tell a story, and then you get maybe a minute into the story and you haven't covered the relevant details properly, and you can see that they're kind of like, their eyes are darting and they're not really looking you in the eye anymore, and you're like, oh, I'm boring you now, but I still have so far to go to get to the end of the story, and it's gonna be weird if I go, you know what, never mind. I can tell that the story's gone in a bad place. They're gonna be like, no, I'm paying attention, even though they're not, because that's, you know, human decorum and politeness. That's what I feel like is, that would be going through my head if I were a one-hit wonder that was touring. You know? I'd be like, okay, we open the concert with something that's not Mambo number 5, because we know they're there to see Mambo number 5, but they don't expect to hear it first. That's just, it's front-loading it. Number 2, I think that's where you slot in Mambo number 5, you know, because if you play more songs than, pardon me, 1 or 2, without playing what they came for, it might start to get a little bit bored, you know? You don't want to have like an Axl Rose-style riot on your hands, or Mambo number 5, please play it. Da, 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 da. I'm not much of a cheerer, in case you haven't noticed. So I think you play it second, and then you still probably got like 7 or 8 songs, at the very least. I mean, I don't know if Bega ever headlined. I'm assuming he did. He's really, you know what he was built for, and other one-hit wonders, absolutely. It was built for like late-night talk shows, where they're like, alright, we just talked about an upcoming movie with the actor with a bunch of rehearsed bits. Coming up next, Bega! And you're like, you know he's performing Mambo number 5. He can also do SNL. You do Mambo number 5 first, and then after half the audience goes to bed, you play Tricky Tricky. It's very simple. That's the dream. But I'd be playing the hits non-stop. I actually feel like, well, it's different for, like, stand-up comedy, I think. Because when I was growing up, I really liked this stand-up comedian. And I want to point out, I mean, I'm not pumping this guy's tires, nor am I saying, like, he's terrible. But his whole shtick was, and I was, like, 13, you know? His whole shtick was, like, I'm that Canadian guy, I do, like, Canadian humor. And, if you want to poke fun at that, that's fine. That's what we're all here for. At the same time, at least we don't have 4 that Canadian guys and lump them all together in something called, you know, the Real Plaid Comedy Tour, and, you know, give them all their own sitcoms, several multi-million-dollar motion picture deals, and yes, I'm talking about Jeff Foxworthy, Bill Engvall, Ron White, and Larry the Cable Girl, aka Horatio Hornblower III, graduate of Georgetown University School of Theology. Anyway, the point is, I was really into this comedian. I was like 12 or 13. And then he came to my hometown, and we're like, well, we gotta see him. And tickets were like $8. So this dude was killing it, as you could tell. We saw it, and he was telling the same jokes that he told in the special that I started watching and like becoming a fan of his for, that came out like 3 years ago. And I kind of thought that was bad etiquette. But I don't know, do people feel like, if you go and see a stand-up comedian, are you there to see new material? Or are you there to see, Are you there to see, the old favorites that you know the beats of and when to laugh? Because it's like the exact opposite of going to see a famous band, for me. It's like if I go see a famous band and they're only, you know, if I go see Block Party and they don't play anything off of Silent Alarm, I'm leaving them a bad review on TripAdvisor. That's all I'm saying, okay? I didn't buy the ticket to be like, man, I can't wait to see what Block Party's got going on in the cooker. I bought the ticket because I like Block Party, and, huge, yeah, let's do it. And, you know, I was with them for that first album, you know, this is great, this is an all-time classic. And then the second one came out, and I was like, you know, it's a little bit too saccharine for me, but I understand where your head's at with this one, and then after that, it just kind of fell off. But if I went and saw, like, Jerry Seinfeld, and he told an airplane food joke, I would be furious. You want to see the new stuff. It's like you're getting a glimpse into the laboratory. I think, at least. That's my 2 cents. I can't believe we've been talking about 20 minutes. I don't think for a moment, except on the first floor when we were talking about not having consumables, I don't think for a moment I have thought about what is happening on this run. Just kind of mindlessly been doing my job here. Whoop. I had a harrowing experience yesterday. By the way, that's a good indication that the run is pretty solid. And we might as well take a second to talk about it. The stats are fine, you know? They're not... There's nothing negative to say except for the fact that they could always be better, but they could always be better. I had a harrowing experience yesterday. So we live like a half hour outside of the area where this concert that we went to was taking place. No, it was not the Eagles, I told you. It was at a community center. Okay? The Eagles haven't played a community center since 1961. And even then, it was just as a favor to the Sacramento City Council. And so to get there, we have to take the highway, but Vancouver's weird. And, you know, back in the 1960s, when it was 70% hippies instead of 35% hippies as it is now, there was a huge protest, so they didn't put a highway in the city, which is great, because now the city is quieter and greener, and the only consequence is that it takes 100 hours to get anywhere that's outside of the city, which actually, unironically for the most part, is just fine. By the way, I think I'm going to skip the item room because Boss Rush is so easy to get to. It's like 4 item rooms in one, and we can probably do it with huge growth, or we could just bounce. Anyway, so I'm getting on the highway to merge. I don't know, probably like most of you have some experience with driving, but if you don't, when you get on the highway has a much higher speed limit and like pace of traffic as well than like, you know, your standard local road. So they have these things called on-ramps, and on the on-ramp, you know, the gist of it is that it's like a speed tutor. You know, if you go to college and your maths, no thank you. You go to college and your math skills are not that good, you know, you get a tutor that freshens you up, takes you up to the pace of college, and then sets you on your way. That's what the on-ramp does. You start at like, you know, 50 kilometers an hour, and by the end of that on-ramp, you should be doing 90 or 100, so that you can relatively seamlessly fit into traffic. Otherwise, you know, if you come on too slow, people are gonna be trying to dodge you left and right. They have to get out of your way, which is not the spirit of being on the highway. Anyway, necessary foundational details? Probably not, but it did kill a little bit of time. So I'm getting on the highway, and I hit passing gear in my car, which is just, you know, pushing the pedal to the metal to some extent to get up to traffic speed or highway speed. But the car in front of me is doing 40 kilometers an hour. You might think, if you don't drive, that merging onto the highway is like the most dangerous part of driving. Not true. It's actually like... It's the easiest process of all time. You gotta pick your spot, you match the speed, you merge in. Parallel parking is a geometrical nightmare. I've learned 100 methods for doing it. Oh, you pull up parallel to the car, but a little bit ahead of it, and then you back up until, you know, you can see the car disappear in your back right window, and then you start turning, like, they work, okay? But, you know, when you gotta... It's the difference between doing something in a debug environment, doing something in a production environment. I would rather just back into a spot and walk for another 2 minutes than try to do that on, you know, West Broadway during rush hour. But I digress yet again. So the van in front of me is doing 40, and we're getting in the on-ramp, and I'm like, this lady, and I know it's a lady because of information that comes out later, okay? So don't... At the time, I wasn't saying this lady, because I don't know if you guys have the same situation, but anytime a person is a jerk driver, I call him a dude. Because it's you. I hate to be a gender traitor. Usually when I'm annoyed by someone in traffic, I look over and it's a dude. There's a lot of varieties. Dude in a suit with a Bluetooth headset. Old dude. Dude yelling at his kids in the back seat. You know, some of these reasons are more valid than others. I'm just saying. You know, it happens a lot. So I was saying, this dude's gonna get us all killed. I didn't say that, but in my head, I was like, this guy's gonna get us all killed. My wife was in the passenger seat, so I was just like, what is this idiot doing? Anyway, we merged at 40. It's the most dangerous. You're going less than half of the speed. This is terrible. less than half of the speed of everybody else in traffic. So we're just lucky that it was relatively late at night. We were able to merge without much difficulty. But I was actually extremely incensed. You know, I was mad. So when I drove by, of course, I looked over. And then Kate looked over and she said, "Oh, I know that person." Which makes sense because we were all coming from, like, the same venue. It's not like a, you know, needle in a haystack sort of situation. Like, 7 or 8 years ago, she got into a car accident. And ever since then, she can't drive. Like, she's traumatized, right? She can't drive over 40 kilometers an hour. And apparently, you know, Kate's family is well connected in, like, the music scene over here, so everybody knows everybody. And Kate said that she had actually been driven home by her once, and it's really awkward because, you know, while she's driving. We lost the purity bonus. Nerdiest thing I've ever said? Closing in on it. You know, while she's driving, she's getting honked at constantly, and people are rolling down the window and, like, yelling at her, but there's nothing she can do about it. And, dude, I got a lot of stuff to talk about with respect to this. First off, I want to point out I am sympathetic towards her, and I don't think it's just as easy as saying, you know, don't drive, because obviously, like, that's a great solution, but it's not always the most feasible. You know, there are situations where driving basically criminally slow is probably better than not driving and all. You know, if your kids have got to go to school, I don't know if she's, you know, what her domestic situation is like. It might be a necessity. It doesn't seem like she's driving for fun and then is like, sorry, I just have to go slow. You know, it seems like she hates it, so I don't think she's doing it any more than is strictly necessary, is my guess. So, I mean, I have a lot of sympathy for her for that. But then the second thing I thought of, and you know this is me, 100%, was that stupid Lexus ad from like a year and a half ago where this old piece of garbage is going like, "This car reminds me when driving was fun. Before the robots came in and smoothed out all the edges and made sure that collectively accidents almost never happened ever again." I'm like, man, this lady, she's burning that midnight oil until the self-driving car comes out. And I'm with her 100%. It sucks, dude. Is she driving unsafe? Oh, dude. Absolutely. Like I said, I was mad. I wasn't mad because they were, like, making us take longer to get on the highway. I was mad because I was like, if a car is going 110 in this lane, we're both gonna be disintegrated. But at the same time, you know, driving is such a necessary part of life for a lot of people. And, you know, you may say it's not. And I kind of agree. We have a car, we could do without it. But we also live in, like, one of the most well-connected cities for public transit in North America. You know, we bike, and the city has great infrastructure for biking. We live in a neighborhood where we can walk to amenities and stuff like that. Not everybody has that, and it's expensive to live there, so not everybody even can live there. The cities are so built around cars. It's tough. And then, you know, when something happens that reminds you, oh, right, we're in like a 1-ton killing machine. You know, it affects your psyche, puts you in a difficult situation like that, because you still sort of gotta drive, but you're not very good at it, or comfortable. Like, I've never been in a car accident. Well, really, like, I was in a fender bender when I was like 3 years old. To be honest, I shouldn't have been driving, but nah, like, it was a highway accident, actually, but it was like in the off-ramp. So we had a little minor fender bender, and like my knee was scraped up a little bit. But you know, a day later I was like, "Drive me to the store, Mom." I think my lung hurts. I'm gonna need a new video game from Toys R Us. Anyway, I didn't do that to the best of my knowledge. I don't know. I was 3. It was a long time ago. I don't even remember what happened at 3, much less when I was 3. Great joke because it's 12:45 p.m. right now. But yeah, so, you know, when I drive, I'm like, you know, it's sunny days. listening to music, having a conversation, never texting. Don't at me, because I've seen the rationalization. Well, if I'm at a stoplight and I need to check my text, nothing's that important. I run a business that exists exclusively online and in my head. I never check my phone at a stoplight. I think that's what you need, is just for Twitter to be occasionally toxic for you, and then you'll never text and drive again. Why would I ever want to go, I'm at a stoplight, open my phone, hey, egghead, you made a mistake here, you idiot. Alright, now I'm driving, and I feel bad. Fantastic. That'll sort you right out, dude. Is this Beelzebub? It is Beelzebub. I mean, I kind of like Unicorn Stump here, but... Anyway. But still, I'm not traumatized when I'm driving. That's what I'm getting at, you know? When I drive, I don't get into the car and go, you know, the way that people get anxious about planes. I don't get in the car and go, this is probably it. You know, this is the end. But it could easily happen, I think, you know? If you get in a terrible accident, I think it could mess with you for life. My grandmother was in, I think she was a passenger, I don't remember, but anyway, she was in an accident. She had some kind of like permanent brain damage. This happened before I was born. She wasn't like catatonic, but you know, she had neurological issues, and she also had like extreme anxiety about driving. She didn't mind being in the passenger seat, but she couldn't drive. And then one day, I don't know, there was a miscommunication. I was at my grandparents' house, and I had to go to school, but I usually got driven by my grandfather, but he wasn't there. He had like some kind of appointment in the morning, and I guess they assumed it was a day off school because it was a Wednesday, and I was like, well, I gotta go to school. And she's like freaking out. She's like, well, I can drive you, but like I don't want to. And I'm like, I don't care. But then she decided like the responsibility of me going to 7th grade for one extra day was more important than like her anxiety regarding this task, which was very brave of her, but also incredibly risky. She was like, by the time she had gotten out of our driveway, she had crashed into the mailbox and was also driving like 20 kilometers an hour the whole way. You know, I could just, they're probably just, you know, doing the times tables again for like the 15th time. I could just go home and watch Nickelodeon if you want. Yes, we did have Nickelodeon. No, it's not a Canadian channel. They had gray market satellite television, and if you're a cop, you gotta tell me, okay? That's all I'm gonna say about that. So yeah, self-driving cars cannot come soon enough, and everyone, I feel like my demographic is like, self-driving cars are gonna be sick. I can check my phone while I drive. You know, if you're out and you have one too many drinks, you can get in your car can still take you home. And then the buzzkills always come in and go, well, it'll take, the glacial pace of legislation will mean that you'll still have to be under. Yeah, but it's a start, okay? It's all I'm trying to say. Nobody's out there like cheering like, now I can drive drunk. Everyone's just going, now I don't have to call a taxi because our city regressively hasn't allowed Uber, but simultaneously has not expanded the taxi medallion system, so at 2 a.m. it's impossible to get a ride anywhere. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. It was an easy win. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more in the future, and I'll see you next time.